All right, today I have a lower body maintenance day. So I'm gonna take you guys through some videos over the next few weeks of me doing some training sessions here in my garage. Just for those of you that are clients, those of you that follow, you see a lot of content online of people showing exercises, execution, biomechanics, form, intensity, all that stuff. But then when it comes to actually putting it together and what training sessions should look like, a lot of the time there's not a ton of context around that. So I'm going to take you guys through some of my training sessions. And at the moment I'm in the garage, it's only 50 degrees outside and this garage isn't insulated, so it's not super warm. So I'm just doing some dynamic movements to increase my body temperature and decrease the risk of injury in this colder place where my joints aren't going to be as warm, body temperature isn't going to be as warm, things like that. So like I said, today is a lower body maintenance workout. And all that means is that at the moment, I'm running a specialization phase for arms and shoulders in the surplus. So what that means is I'm training arms and shoulders 3 times per week, and I'm only training chest and back once per week and lower body 1 time per week. And so my chest, back, and lower body are all at maintenance volume. I'm not trying to grow them, and I'm throwing a ton of volume at arms and shoulders to specialize and build more muscle there because they're some of my more weaker body parts. Overall, my chest, back is pretty good, legs are pretty good, arms, shoulders could use some work to be able to catch up just to create a little bit of a better aesthetic, or just for like the artistic form of body composition, what I'm aiming for at the moment. So the workout is going to be pretty short in regards to 1 exercise for calves, 1 exercise for glutes/hamstrings, 1 exercise for quads. So I'm going to take you guys through these movements to just show you how I'm executing on them, what I'm also thinking about, just to give you a little bit of insight. So I'm actually starting with calves today. Calves are something that are a little bit of a weaker muscle group for me. So putting them at the beginning of the workout as opposed to the end just allows me to be a little bit more energized when doing the movement to get a little bit more out of it and create a little bit more mechanical tension in the calves. So I'm going to do them single-legged, but as I just get warmed up, I'm going to start by just getting the calves through an entire range of motion. And when I do these, I've switched recently. I used to do a full range of motion to the bottom and then come all the way up to this top position, but I've been staying much more in the stretch position for the last while, and it's actually been a nice change. So I get all the way down here to this very bottom stretch position, get that big stretch in the calf that I can feel, and then when I come back, I'm only coming back up to roughly parallel and not coming all the way to that top position, which allows me to stay much more just in the lengthened range for the calves throughout the exercise. I'm not sitting here saying that this is the absolute best way or the only way to go about it. It's just something that I've changed to recently, and it's been very, very nice in regards to getting more soreness into them, pushing more volume, and just a nice switch up to not have things be so redundant with something just as simple as a calf raise. A little bit of novelty always keeps my mind much more stimulated. The plan is to work with roughly 80 to 90 pounds for working sets. I've got 50 pounds here strapped to me with this little belt rig that I've got set up. So I did a couple of sets with just body weight with both legs. Then I did a set with just body weight for each leg on its own. Now I'm going to do a few more reps with both legs just to keep warming up and pump a little bit of blood into the calves. Again, it's cold out here, so I'm just making sure that I'm getting a plenty good warm up. So a few reps there with both legs. Then I'll go into a few reps just single-legged, just to keep adding that resistance and accumulating up to the working weight that I'm going to use for my working sets. It's also super cold in here, and my Versa grips are in the truck. I'm too lazy to go get them. So I'm just going to wrap this wrist wrap around the dumbbell because the metal portion of it is super cold, and it's going to be hard just to hold on to it with freezing hands as I do the actual working sets. All right, that should be good. So I got 85 pounds. Last week, I believe I did 83 pounds at the gym that I train at sometimes for reps of like 13 to 14. So now with 85 pounds, just trying to roughly match that on single legs, or if I get even a little bit potentially more, I'll go for more. But the point is just to get reps that are near failure. So what I'm aiming for is I'm not going to stop. I'm going to aim to get at least 12 to 13 reps, but I'm not going to, if I can get there and the reps still haven't really slowed down when I'm trying to come back up to that top, I'm going to keep going to ensure that I'm getting relatively close to failure, because those last few reps, as they start to slow, those are the effective reps are going to help you be able to actually build muscle and make each set productive. So right out of the gate, my focus is getting this huge stretch at the bottom on the calf and then coming back up to parallel. 1. And controlling the reps as best as possible. No bouncing. 3. Okay, that's 11. The reps are starting to slow down. Still controlling it. 13. I got one more in me. Nice and slow down. All right. So I got 14 reps. Catch my breath here. 14 reps with that left leg for the first set, which is good. That's progress from last week where I believe I had 83 pounds for 13-ish reps or so. So to get 85 pounds for 13, 14 reps is honestly right on point. Now, the crappy work part about unilateral work is that we have to do the other leg. That's progression. That's good. That's what we're aiming for. All right, after finishing that right leg, I've had about 70, 90 seconds of rest. For calves, I don't like a ton of rest in between. Now it's time to go back into it. So I got 14 reps on each leg for that first set. This set, obviously I won't be able to get quite as many just because I went to like an RPE 8.5 to 9 on that last set. So to keep that, I'm a little bit more fatigued now in the calves, just to hit that same RPE of an 8 to 9 or so. I'm not gonna be able to get as many reps just because I'm a little bit more fatigued. So here I'm shooting for somewhere between 9 to 12 would be really, really good. Focusing on form, controlling the weight, not letting the form change as the reps get harder, just allowing the reps to slow down due to not being as strong from getting more fatigued. Full stretch at the bottom. 1. Full stretch. 2. 3. 4. 5. 8. 9. This is where they start to get harder. 10. 11. Nice and slow down. Big stretch. All right. 11 reps for the second set on the left leg. Just take a few seconds here. Allow some of that fatigue to drop. And then, again, the unfortunate part about doing each leg separately, I've got to do this other leg. All right. Whew. First 2 sets down. I'm going to rest another 60 to 90 seconds and then come back to do the third and final set. All right, so now on this last set, just to push the intensity a little bit harder. So something to keep in mind, I am in week 6 or 7 of my current training block where I'm running the specialization phase for arms and shoulders. So I'm in like the 6th or 7th week of this. And actually, I believe this would be the 6th week of it. Because for the first 4 weeks, I was just doing straight sets of all of these calf raises. And then from weeks 5 to 8, I'm adding in a myo rep match set at the end of my 3rd and final set. So in that very first set, I got 14 reps. In the second set, I got 11 reps. In this set, I'm gonna do as many mini sets as required to get back to 14 reps, like I did in that very first set when I was least fatigued and at my strongest. So what that does, if I'm gonna fail or get to like an RPE 8 to 9 at, let's say, like 7 or 8 reps on this last set, well, then I'm gonna take 8 to 10 second rest intervals. If I then get if I get 4 more reps, that would mean I've gotten 12 total reps. I'm trying to get to 14 like I did in the first set. So then I'll rest another 8 to 10 seconds and bash out those last 2 reps to get back to doing the same amount of reps that I did in that first set. This is just a way to accumulate more reps near or at failure at the end of training a specific muscle group, just to push more volume, more intensity. This isn't something I would do all of the time. Like I said, my first 4 training weeks, I was just doing 3 normal sets. But for this second piece of the 12-week block, weeks 5 through 8, I'm doing a myo rep match set at the end for the last set that matches the first set. And then from weeks 9 to 12, I'll do a myo rep match set for set 2 and 3 to match that first set, so that the volume is just creeping up and the more exposures to close to failure creep up as well, which ideally will help drive hypertrophy, because again, the calves are a muscle group that I am trying to bring up with the shoulders and arms, and this is just an intensity technique to be able to do so. So we'll see how many I get in this first knockout of reps, probably somewhere between like 7 to 9. I'll rest 8 to 10 seconds and keep doing mini sets until I get to 14 to match that first set like I mentioned. Big stretches at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Nice and controlled. 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's starting to slow down a bit. That's 7, 8. Slow and controlled. Come on. Come on. 9. Slow and controlled. Okay, so that's 9. I gotta get to 14, so I'm gonna take about 10 seconds. And 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I'm at 9. I'm trying to get to 14. 10, 11. Oh, come on. Come on. Stick with it. 12. Slow and controlled down. Get that stretch, all right? All right, calves are finished and they feel good. I actually got a decent amount of blood flow in them at the moment. And I always judge exercises off of, not necessarily like do I have to have a huge pump, but do I feel fatigued locally in that area? And just to do even calf raises off of the ground with body weight, I feel a lot weaker, which means I definitely got some good work in there. But now I'm going to move on to my hamstring plus glute dominant exercise that I've been progressing for the last while. I actually have behind me a brand new hack squat / leg press in my gym that I got from RitFit, a company that I work with. But I'm gonna honor this 12-week phase that I'm in and just continue to progress the exercises that I have been, because I just got that recently. So I'm gonna finish this off. At the moment, this exercise is it's a hybrid between a 45-degree hip extension as well as an RDL. It's not to where you're at a 45-degree angle over and you're not standing straight up either, to where when we're doing an RDL, from this position here, we're getting a ton of tension in that lengthened position. And then when we're doing a 45-degree extension, we're getting a lot of that tension on the glutes when your hips are more towards that top and closer to the mid to shortened position. So when we're doing lengthen-based exercises, it's always going to cause more fatigue. And right now in my chest, back, lower body, I'm trying to keep these sessions as least fatiguing as possible, so I am as recovered and as fresh as possible for all three of those arm and shoulder sessions each week. So this exercise I just recover from really well. Feel it really, really well in both my glutes and my hamstrings. So it's just a great exercise. And for glutes, hamstrings, and quads, I'm only doing 2 working sets as opposed to calves. You saw me doing 3 because I'm trying to push a little bit more volume there. And I'm just trying to essentially maintain in regards to glutes, hamstrings, as well as quads. All right, I'm gonna do one more warm-up set with 50 pounds total, just to make sure setup is in a good position, feeling stable, feeling a good connection to the glutes and to the hamstrings as I come through the exercise, which it's feeling great. As I come to the bottom, I'm just feeling like I'm allowing my butt to come up towards the sky, which is having my upper body drop more towards the floor. And then to come up, I'm just thinking of driving my hips into that pad and squeezing the glutes, which is driving that upper body up. So I'm not trying to bring the upper body to the top. I'm thinking of my hips pushing behind me, which is bringing the upper body down and then driving the hips into that pad, and that pops my upper body up and puts all that tension nicely into the glutes and the hamstrings. I just checked my training log from last week, and I got this 50 pounds in each hand for 12 reps total. So this week, if I can get up to 13 reps, I'm going to get it. If I can't, all I'm really focused on is keeping nice and controlled, feeling a good contraction within the glutes and the hamstrings, a big stretch at the bottom, a nice squeeze at that top position, keeping my form very, very consistent, and just making sure that I'm getting those last few reps are near failure at an RPE 8 to 9 or so, and ensuring that I'm keeping very honest form throughout. So that's the main goal for me in this first set. If I'm able to get more than 12 reps, amazing. If I'm only able to get to 12 reps, that's where I'll call it quits if I don't feel like I can get another rep with the same form foundation that the previous reps were. Or if I even end up getting 1 or 2 reps less, that's okay too. I'm not going to force myself to progress at this. If it allows and my strength is there, I will do it. And that's one mistake I feel like a lot of people make, especially with clients that I'm working with when I'm viewing their training videos. They don't think a training session is efficient or productive unless they force progressive overload to happen. But when we're creating progressive overload, and I've made this mistake and ended up with injuries over and over again, our goal isn't just to force our body to progress, and if we have to sacrifice in form to progress, well, that doesn't mean you actually progressed, right? Because you had to malfunction form-wise to be able to get those extra reps, so you're not getting all of that targeted tension on the muscles that we're aiming for. Rather, if you focus on controlling the reps, keeping them very consistent throughout, and the only thing that changes is the speed due to fatiguing, over time you are going to progress at those. But that doesn't mean that every session you're going to be able to make progress and do more weight or do more reps. Allow the progression to happen as a byproduct of you being patient and training very soundly, because that's what's going to keep you safe and going to allow you to stay training for much longer, avoid risk of injury from putting joints in vulnerable positions, and allow you to stay consistent longer, keep momentum on your side, still accumulate the effective reps that are near failure, which we're aiming for, and allow you better progress over the long run. So that's a ton of yapping. I haven't done YouTube videos for a long time, so I'm a little long-winded trying to give full stories. I'll get better at that as time goes on. But anyway, here's set 1. We're aiming for 13, but we're going to allow the progression to come to us instead of forcing ourselves to do it at the sacrifice of keeping good form. So I'm allowing myself to come down by allowing the hips to feel like they're traveling up, and then drive those hips into the bar. There's 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, those feel good. Oh, and then it messed up and I lost the dumbbell. Man, that's unfortunate. I guess we're going to count that as just a 1 a user air, and 3 reps with the working weight, and count it as another warm-up set. Well, that was a bummer. It's taking a little bit of time. Feel good now. I've put in some 45s behind these dumbbells for the heel elevation, and I guess we're just going to go right back at it. Count that last few reps with the working weight just as an additional warm-up. Now the glutes should be firing really well in the hamstrings. Totally warmed up for this exercise. Now we're going to attack this set, and we're going to, like I said, aim for 13, but we're going to allow that progression to come to us. As long as we're getting above 10 reps or so and we're controlling the weight, we're going to count it as a win. All right, here we go. Slow and controlled. Drive the hips in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every rep looks the exact same. Big stretch. 9. 10. It's burning. 11. Reps feel the same. Just execute. Oh, I got one more. All right. 13. I just watched that set back, and I realized that my counting was off. I only got 12. I didn't actually get 13. I went from 7 to 9. So in my last week, I got 12 as well. I matched 12 there. The RPE was probably around like 8 to 9, somewhere probably right in there. I probably had like 1.5 to 2 more good reps in me. But we'll count that as good. Those are still, it's an effective set. I controlled the weight well. I got near failure. I'll progress it next week. Just because I didn't actually progress doesn't mean that this training session or that set wasn't productive. It's just another week of practicing good form, controlling weight, getting near failure, which is still creating a really good stimulus, which is all that I'm really after. The last week, I'm not doing a MyoRep match for these. Like I said, that was just for calves today. Last week, my second set, I got 10 reps. So again, today, I'm just gonna aim to roughly match that. If I get a little bit more, awesome. If I get a little bit less, that's fine. I've had about 3 to 4 minutes since that first set to recover. So now it's time to lock in here. Get one more good set. Control the weight really well. Keep the energy focused on my form. Allow the reps to slow down over time. And all I control is just making sure that I get near failure. Gonna keep the ego out of it and just focus on execution. Here we go. One, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. Every rep stays the exact same. 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, it's getting hard. That shit burns. Last one. Come on. Come on. Ugh. All right. All right. We matched total reps and total weight from last week. So we'll take it. I'm going to rest for a moment. Then we'll move on to the last exercise for quads. After taking 4 to 5 minutes to get my breath fully back, we are going to hop into some leg extensions. So I'm going to start out with roughly half the weight that I'm going to be using for my working weight. And I'm just going to sit here. Oh man, today's training session, I tell you what, I've got this leg extension banded just to add a little bit more tension to it. And after those first 2 warm-up sets, it just snapped. That just goes to show you here in southern Idaho how cold it is here, between the hip extensions and the dumbbell coming off and then losing that band. The exercise gods just aren't on my side today, I guess. But that's besides the point. So I'm going to sit here with about half the weight that I'm going to use for my working sets and just warm up for roughly 10 reps or so, just getting through a full range of motion, keeping the weight nice and controlled, feeling those quads turn on. One very helpful tip when using a leg extension as well is this cam or this momentum arm where you kick up this pad on your shins. You want to line that up so it's about even with your knees. If you get to where you're sitting way up here and your knees are in front of that cam, it's going to put a lot more torque on your knee joints and cause a lot more pain. Somebody that struggles with knee pain, this is very, very important. A lot of people will avoid the leg extension, but if you line up so that that cam is in line with the knees, it's going to keep that tension off of the knees, place a lot more tension into the quads so that they're what's moving this shin pad up and down without that torque on the knee joint, and it's going to feel much, much better for you. One more quick warm up here. First warm up was 110 pounds. This one, 110 plus 45. It's going to be 155 pounds, and then our working weight's going to be 200 pounds. The thing, I like this leg extension that was sent to me, but the one thing that I don't like about it is that it's a plate eater. So all I can fit on here with these bumper plates is 200 pounds, and I still have to go really high in regards to the amount of reps that I get to get near failure. So what I really need is to get some 45-pound plates that aren't bumpers because they're thinner, so I can stack more of them on, so I can stay in like the 6 to 12 rep range. But with the 200 pounds on this, I'm gonna have to go up closer to 12 to 20 reps. At the end of the day, the rep range that you choose to use doesn't really matter if you're trying to add muscle onto your frame, just because all that really matters is, regardless of the rep range, that those last couple of reps that you do in a set are near failure, and they're much slower than the first few reps, meaning you created the proper mechanical tension and fatigue within the muscle to force adaptation to take place. Where I like to train is in those lower rep ranges, because I typically don't have to take as much of a rest, because my heart rate comes down a lot faster. When I'm training in higher rep ranges, by the end of it, I'm fatigued from a cardiovascular standpoint as well as from a musculature standpoint, so I need even more rest to allow my cardiovascular system to recover before doing that next set, so that my cardiovascular system isn't the limiting factor to having to stop a set, and I'm making sure that it's my actual muscles slowing down and getting fatigued that's stopping me, and not my heart rate or becoming out of breath, essentially. So that's warm-up set number 2. We'll stack on another 45 and we'll get 2 good working sets in here. Last week I was able to get the 200 pounds for 15 reps. So again, this week the goal is obviously to try to beat that, but more importantly, I want to keep the reps very controlled, keep the proper tempo, controlling the weight on the way down. I'm not necessarily counting on the way down to have it lower in a certain amount of seconds, but just making sure it's staying nice and controlled, exploding up, getting that tension onto the quads, controlling the weight down. And as I get to the point where I'm coming back up to the top, that it's getting much harder and they're slowing down a lot, to where I know I've only got 1 or 2 reps left that I could do with that same form and that same tempo on the lowering phase of it. That's where I know I've hit that effective target and I'm relatively close enough to failure where I can end the set. I'm not gonna allow my ego to take over. I'm just gonna allow my body to reach its max exertion, or its exertion of an RPE of 8 to 9, and just let the chips fall where they may. So we're gonna control these, aim for 16, but let those 16 reps come to us instead of sacrificing our form just to be able to achieve them. So there's 1, nice and controlled, big stretch here at the bottom, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, keeping it nice and controlled, 9, it's already burning, 10, 12, 13, come on. 14, 15, come on, we got one more. Control it. 16, control it down. Whew. All right, 16 reps, I'm happy with that. That's the hard part about those high rep sets, is that you're gonna create a ton more lactic acid buildup in the muscle that you're training. So on lower rep ranges, like 6 to 10, you're not gonna build up as much lactic acid, which is that burning sensation in the muscle. And when you start training at higher rep ranges, 10 to 20, well, there's gonna be a ton more lactic acid buildup to where it starts burning much, much faster. But just because it starts to burn doesn't mean that that muscle is actually fatigued and you're at those reps that are near failure. So by like rep 10 or 11, I'm feeling a really good burn, but I can also tell that my reps aren't slowing down when I'm lifting my legs back up to that top position. So even though it burns, I know I'm not getting that close to failure. And I know my cue that I am getting close is when I'm coming up, it's really starting to slow down and I'm hitting sticking points to where I can tell that I'm taking longer to get that weight up. That tells me that I'm actually fatiguing the musculature system and getting those effective reps near failure that are most efficient in creating the most mechanical tension, which is creating adaptation and body composition or muscle growth progress. Last week I got 10 reps for my last set on the leg extension. This week I want 11. I think we can even get 12. I took a good long rest. I feel mostly recovered at this point. Heartbeat is completely down. Feel good. Last one for the quads for the week. Let's get it. Ooh, they're shaking already. Keep it controlled. 6, 7, 8, 9. Starting to slow down and it's burning. 10. Come on. 11. One more. Finish it. Come on. 12. Control it down. Whew. All right. That's it. Appreciate you guys if you stuck around for the whole video. Maybe you got something out of it. I'll come back with the shoulder and arm day in the next week or so. I'll do a chest and back day as well. Any questions you have, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll chat with you guys soon.